go. We're inbound.
Did you just notice what happened? The frame subtly shifts from the 235:1 scope aspect ratio to the 1.9:1 IMAX aspect ratio. This is Guardians of the Galaxy, released in 2014 and directed, of course, by James Gunn. I am personally very fascinated with aspect ratios, especially when filmmakers use it in a very creative way, in a very intentional way, whether it's to showcase a larger scale, a larger format, or just as a fun storytelling device. And James Gunn is one of those filmmakers. In all of his 6 comic book adaptations, James Gunn has used aspect ratios in a very creatively intentional way, almost as if it's his signature. Starting with the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, if you watch the movie in Disney Plus in its IMAX enhanced version, you will see that the aspect ratio switches between 235:1 and the 1.9:1 ratio for the IMAX scenes. And the whole switching aspect ratios isn't a very novel idea, even though it's Marvel Studios' first attempt at such a concept. Christopher Nolan pioneered it first with The Dark Knight in 2008. And there are plenty of movies which do this for quote-unquote IMAX scenes. And if you notice and pay attention to the framing and composition of those movies, when they open up to the taller IMAX aspect ratio, you will see that they've basically center framed everything with a lot of headroom. And there's a particular reason why they do this, is to have enough safe area to make it croppable for narrower non-IMAX screens. And the second reason is that when you project that image onto a giant IMAX screen, you're basically just focusing on the center of the frame, and the top and the bottom just add to your peripheral vision and just add to the immersiveness. There's not a lot of extra useful information on the top and the bottom, but that's just a framing concept which makes the whole thing more immersive, and it just adds a better effect in theaters. But James Gunn has a slightly different take on this. Every single time you see one of those Guardians movies and the aspect ratio switches to 1.9, you will see that James Gunn tries to make use of every single pixel on the frame. There is usually no excess headroom except for medium shots, and every single frame is very intentionally composed, as if it's composed for IMAX only. James Gunn has deliberately used only wide shots or establishing shots or shots involving flying, or which have some sort of a scale, or action shots, or very profound emotional shots. All of them are in that tall aspect ratio. And all of this basically tells you subconsciously that whenever the screen fills, it is an important shot, and your brain just automatically pays more attention. And even the 235:1 scope shots feel composed for 235:1. So every single framing and composition is very intentionally done, and it just shows the amount of care and intention put behind every frame. And this was implemented in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 as well, but with a new concept of frame break effects. So in the 3D IMAX version of the movie, there are certain effects and elements which jump out and occupy and play around with the black bars on the screen, which was so damn cool. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was my first ever IMAX film, and it was kind of amazing to see all these things all at once. So yeah, from what I understand, James Gunn's philosophy is to provide a screen-filling picture to as many theaters and screens as possible. But the problem is that these aspect ratio switches I talked about, these were only part of the IMAX presentation of the film, and there are not many IMAX theaters in the world. So for his next movie, he went to the rival studio Warner Brothers and makes his first DC film, The Suicide Squad. And it was marketed in a way that the whole movie from start to finish was shot on IMAX certified red Komodo cameras.
Create The Suicide Squad for IMAX specifically, and to be able to shoot it in that aspect ratio was very exciting to me.
Which meant that the entire runtime of the film was going to be in 1.9:1 for all theaters. The thing with delivering a 1.9:1 image is that while you cater the IMAX theaters and other premium large format theaters or screens which have 185:1 screens, there are not a lot of them. And still, most theaters which I've been to and probably around in the world still have those CinemaScope rectangle 235:1 screens. And when you project that kind of an image on a wide screen like that, you'll get black bars on the sides. So while you're technically getting the most amount of image, you're actually losing out on screen real estate. And the fact with the Suicide Squad was that it was just not croppable. It was not composed or framed for 2:35:1, and when you watch that film and you pay attention to the framing and composition, it feels like it was composed for that aspect ratio only. You would definitely chop off John Cena's head over here if you try to crop for 2:35:1. And with these choices, it almost felt like James Gunn went back to his roots of his earlier films like Slither and Super, which were finished in 185 flat aspect ratio. And although 185 and IMAX are kind of the same, there are some technical differences, but I do like that feel, that intimate, grounded feel which 185 provides, while also giving that vertical space for establishing scale. So it's a good all-rounder aspect ratio, but again, like I said, it doesn't cater to all theaters. So yeah, with all these learnings and with his fourth comic book movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, James Gunn just went all in terms of optimizing for each different theater screen as possible, which meant that there were over 600 different deliverable versions of the movie, including different languages, 3D, 2D, and so on and so forth. So IMAX screens would get the full 1.9:1 experience for the entire movie. Normal screens would get the 2:35:1 cropped version for the entire movie, and some non-IMAX PLS would get a variable aspect ratio movie where it just expands to a 185 image for key scenes like the previous movies. Well, I did not get to see the movie in a taller aspect ratio because I don't have an IMAX anymore in my city, and in the one best PLF I have, Disney just outright refused to give the changing aspect ratio version. So yeah, I'll wait for the Disney Plus version, I guess. But yeah, while I did watch this, even on the scope version, I could see that some scenes were definitely framed for 185:1. And also for the TV productions he did, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special and the Peacemaker TV series, he used the TV 16:9 aspect ratio, which is so rare these days. Everybody's just using 2:1, which I absolutely hate. But James Gunn used the traditional TV format, which was awesome and so refreshing. So yeah, I just absolutely love and respect how James Gunn uses these technical aspects into providing the audience a better experience and just make his movies better in a way. And I am absolutely stoked for Superman Legacy, which comes out next year. And yeah, that's basically it. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope I get to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in its full IMAX aspect ratio someday. But yeah, till then, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.